How do you protect your intellectual property as a startup is what we're talking about today on the eCentral Business Show. I'm John Naylor, joined by Brent Weston, specialist in intellectual property law. Thank you very much, Brent, for talking to us ongoing. Yeah.
Still a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's still a pleasure to be here. And look, it's all exactly the same as it was last time, and it's exactly the same day, actually. But no, it's great to have a talk to you about this. And that's why I asked you off camera if we continue this conversation, because a lot of people out there that are entrepreneurs, they want to disrupt, they've got this great app idea, they want to launch, they've got this idea that they're going to be WhatsApp and they're going to sell. What do you want to sell yourself to Facebook or to Google? That's the choices, really, isn't it? But let's talk about the various things that these startups do around protecting intellectual property. And what are the sorts of conversations and things they need to concern themselves with? You can tell us something about that, yeah?
My advice to people with great ideas, and there's plenty of people out there with great ideas, is get some specialist advice as early as you possibly can. I mean, you can type in intellectual property in Google. Some of the information's good, some of it's misleading, some of it's just wrong. It's important to get specialist advice as early as possible.
Oh, well, the thing is, like any Google result these days on any subject gives you a million results. So how do you curate that? How do you...
Well, that's right.
How do you distill that down to something useful? You need to talk to a professional, yeah?
I think so. Look, in my experience, most creative people, inventors, ideas people are pretty switched on anyway, and they've got a pretty good sense of what they're creating and whether or not it has value, and whether or not there might be some legal rights attaching to it. I think it's very important to get upfront advice. Say, let's identify. The first concept is identify what my idea is giving effect to, what law is it giving rise to an IP right, and if so, what kind. Following that, do I need to think about protecting it? So identify it, inform yourself as to what it is that you may have on your hands. Then you can start thinking about your budget. You can start thinking about whether you might want to attract third-party investors.
Yeah, sure.
And there are funds out there that exist to develop intellectual property and to protect it and to take it to market. And there are various phases of investment fundraising.
But excuse me, Brent, I've got to cut in. Like, let's dumb it down, really, like, step one. Go out and tell the world or keep it a secret?
Keep it a secret.
Right, okay. Now, if they're going to call themselves WhatsApp, do they need to protect that as a trademark?
Yeah, well, that's right. So if we're talking about apps generally...
as an example, as a hypothetical.
They all go hand in hand, because as I stated in some earlier parts to this video, IP, your product, your idea might actually comprise a range of overlapping IP rights. So, there's the source code, shall we say, within the app itself.
Yeah, that's right. So the source code, and that should be a trade secret or secret?
Keep that secret.
Yep.
In some instances, if it gives rise to some sort of inventive or novel way of doing things, that might be patentable. Yeah,
where people bump the phone together or something like that, and that makes...
Right.
Or if it makes a unicorn appear or something, I don't know.
Yeah, if it does something that is new that nobody else has done before, it's potentially patentable. But that needs specialist advice.
Yeah, okay. So that's that part. So the software's secret. The system, the way it works, is something you're going to patent as...
Potentially it's patentable as
potentially,
well.
Yeah,
potentially. Okay. There's the brand you mentioned. So
the brand, trademark.
How are we going to market this? What are we going to call it? If you're thinking about a brand, it's good to have a bit of a look around as to whether what you're thinking of using has already been used by somebody else. So if you've got a trademark or a brand in mind, that might be capable of trademark protection. So that sort of gets you to the identification and protection part. But in my experience, ideas people aren't necessarily made of money. So if you've got an idea that's reasonably well developed, it's probably time to start thinking about attracting some investment funding. Initial funding usually comes from friends, family and fools, right? To get things going.
Okay.
But at some point, it's likely you'll need capital money to take it to the next level, which will mean proper development, proper protection, and getting it to market with all the relevant branding. There are many ways, many structures to do it. But these are the initial thoughts that you should be thinking about if you've got an idea.
All right, so when do they come and see you? They've got an idea, it's still secret, is important, yeah? So if they've told the world, it's probably a bit too late. Well, they still would have the conversation, but
yeah, it's worth
they put the horse before the cart, so so early on in the piece.
As early as possible, I think, just to get some general guidance. I mean, I've certainly dealt with people over the last many years that have come up with the idea, and perhaps they've spilt the beans, or they've taken it to places they shouldn't have, and then they seek the advice, and it's a bit hard to undo what's been done.
Oh, of course, yes.
There are some other issues to think about as well. That's IP generally, but there are structuring issues. So there are ways to protect IP. You might have a patent over your IP, but to remove it from any kind of commercial or credit risk, there are ways to structure your business. So without a whiteboard, you'll have to visualise it.
Yeah.
What we commonly do when it comes to IP structuring is we put the IP asset, which has value, we have put it in a separate company over here, that's on the IP holding company.
Okay.
It gives the trading company over here the right to use the intellectual property right, and over here we have John the customer. But we have the IP asset a long way removed from the customer and any potential commercial or credit risk.
Oh, okay.
So getting those simple structures in place is important to do early as well.
Oh, okay. All right, so structure, all right. Well, anyway, look, when it comes down to it, they probably contact you on LinkedIn, I take it?
On LinkedIn.
Yeah, and that's Weston, W-E-S-T-O-N. Brent Weston, and have that conversation early on and call you up and make contact and come in for a consult.
Yeah, make contact, come in for a coffee and a chin wag.
Early on, as early as
possible.
Yeah.
It's important to get some general guidance as early as possible, and at least then you're in a position to decide where you want to take it, and also, of course, how much you want to invest in the process.
Sure.
In terms of deciding how far you want to take it, you need to have a broader understanding of the market you're pitching at as well, the marketing potential of the product. So there's that initial legal advice, but there might be a requirement to obtain some financial accounting advice as well.
Yeah, sure.
In terms of getting your business structure, your tax structures set up. And you may, in fact, also want to take on board some specialist marketing advice as well, in terms of understanding the market and how to pitch the product. All
right, fantastic, Brent. Thank you very much for coming in. I think even important about all this sort of thing, I keep coming up with the answer, and every time I speak to you, is you got to get in and talk to you early on. That's the takeaway of this process. Brent Weston, thank you very much for coming in and speaking to us about intellectual property. Thank you very much. Okay, and that's another episode done of the eCentral Business Show. Thank you very much for watching another episode of the eCentral Business Show. What we're looking to do across the eCentral Business Show is bring to you the very best content from great people with really informative knowledge to share. It's something that you can listen to in the car. Don't watch it, obviously, when you're doing that, but we're looking to really bring value to you across LinkedIn, YouTube, podcastable content, so it's really great and informative business knowledge. So please tune in as much as you can. Now, the great ways to follow us, you can register on the database, make contact with us, and we'll put your email in. We're going to tell you each month what great videos will come out, and just give you a curated version through the eCentral magazine, where we're going to send you the most popular videos for the month. The other thing we can do is obviously invite you to connect with us on LinkedIn, linked up with myself, John Naylor. And the other thing, of course, is look up John Naylor on YouTube and subscribe to our channel there.